Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR Halacha. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Tuesday, 21st day of March, which is the 23rd day of Adar. Here we go. A little bit about the salt water, first of all. You know that we prepare salt water, and the reason that we prepare salt water is because we're going to dip the karpas in the salt water. The karpas could be, depending on your family custom, it could be a potato, it could be parsley, or something like that. Different families have different customs of what vegetable they use. The idea of the word karpas is that it represents, when you scramble the letters, it represents samach perach, which samach is the numerical value of 60. Perach means hard work. So 60 myriads of Jews, that's 600,000 Jews, were doing hard work during the shibud, the hard work in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. And because the work was so hard and it was 60 myriads or 600,000 Jews, we make a symbol for that called karpas. And it could be any vegetable that your family has the custom of using. You should eat a small amount of that vegetable. In my family, it's parsley, and we just dip a small amount. And the reason it's a small amount is because if you ate a big amount of that food, then you would have to make a borei nefashos after it, and then you'd have all kinds of complicated questions about whether you'd need another bracha of borei pri adama when you get to the maror. So it's best to just eat a small amount, which doesn't require a borei nefashos, and think that your borei pri hadama before the karpas is covering for the maror, the bitter herb that you're going to eat later also. The salt water, it represents the tears of the Jews as they worked very hard because tears are salty. It also represents the salt water of the sea that the Jews crossed when the sea was split. Not a lot of people know that, but it's those two salty liquids that we're remembering when we have the salt water. And you know how I just said that you make the bracha borei pri hadama and that covers for the maror that you eat a little bit later in the Seder? Well, here's something that some people are going to love to hear, some people are not going to like to hear it, and that is, you know that there's a mitzvah to discuss the amazingness of what it was like when the Jews left Egypt. Well, it is true that there's a mitzvah to do that, totally. I'm not taking away from that. The question is, when do you do all of that mitzvah? Some people pack it in and do a lot of that when they have the beginning of the Seder and the salt water and the manishtana, etc., and it takes them like 2 hours till they get to the matzah part and the maror part. And that's not necessarily a good idea. You might have young people or old people who are waiting diligently, patiently for the mitzvah of matzah and bitter herbs, and they can't do that because they're falling asleep and they don't get to even see that mitzvah. Why? Because you squashed in all of the discussion about leaving Egypt and made the mitzvah, the biblical mitzvah of the matzah be delayed. So it's not a great idea to make the matzah mitzvah be terribly delayed. So yes, of course you should discuss all the special miracles that God did for us when we left Egypt, but a good time to do that is after you have eaten and done the mitzvah of matzah. And then a fantastic time to do that is at your meal. When you're eating the meal, you can extend that part of the Seder and do all of the discussion about what it was like when we left Egypt. And you can do that for a long, long time if you want to. Just make certain to eat the afikoman before the middle of the night, which could be around 1 in the morning. Check in your locale where that is exactly. But you want to make certain to eat the afikoman matzah before you get to the middle of the night. And that's, watch for that, because with a lot of schmoozing, that could get messed up. So at your mealtime, is it good to schmooze about the weather and politics and stuff like that? No. No, that just doesn't belong at the Seder period. The thing to be discussing at the meal, and not so much before you get to the mitzvah of matzah and bitter herbs. The mitzvah at the meal is to discuss all that great stuff, what it was like when we left Egypt. And don't delay, don't delay the matzah eating by so much and make maybe the young people or the old people or the bored people miss that mitzvah because they fell asleep while you were all discussing the leaving of Egypt too much. So be careful how you do your timing such that everybody at your Seder gets included in all of the mitzvahs of the evening. Thanks for logging on. Log on again tomorrow for more. Bye-bye.